S&P futures up 47.5 handles, 59.83 and a quarter. The buck strong again, finally cleared that 108 hurdle, up 25 cents, 108.54. TLT flat, just up a couple pennies. USO rallying up a buck 70, 76.52. GLD up 233, 242.96. Silver unable to get near 27, up 13 cents at 26.74. And Bitcoin futures, they're bouncing back from that weakness earlier in the week, up $3,480 at 97,600 on the futures. Okay, let's welcome back Christian Fromhertz. Mr. Fromhertz joining the show here. How was your vacation? How was your New Year's? And are you glad to be back?
It was very good. I don't know what you guys did to the market while I was gone. Down 4 days in a row. We come in this morning. Futures are back up a little bit. Happy New Year, guys! It's great to be back. I had a nice break, and looking forward to what this market's going to give us here in 2025. So go ahead.
I was going to say, we always blame Joel when he goes away. You didn't actually go away, but you weren't on pre-market prep, and it goes down for 4 days in a row. So all I can say is not allowed to take any more time off from pre-market prep. This is it.
That's it. Get it out of the way. 2024. Yep.
But good year all around. I saw you posted your results. You had a very good year again, Christian. So congratulations. I actually haven't looked at my own results yet. I'm going to do that this morning and look. I think I was sitting up in the 40s somewhere, so I don't know how I ended up, if I hit 50 or not. I don't think so.
Very good. Thank you.
I don't know where I ended up, but nice job again, Christian.
Thank you very much. It's kind of crazy with these middle of the week holidays. We've had 2 2 weeks in a row. We had Christmas was on Wednesday, New Year's Day on Wednesday as well. So it's kind of like I like to have after the month, or in this case the year, I'm waiting for the weekend to kind of like get caught up a little bit with what we just experienced with this year, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the biggest movers to the downside, because we got the January effect. So so we'll see, but it is very weird with these Wednesday holidays.
And how about a 4-day work week next week, Dennis? I don't know if you know about that.
Oh yeah, we got day off because of the death, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So which day are they taking off?
Thursday.
Was he 100? He's 100 years old?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
impressive.
So that's a week from today. Okay. So we got another.
Yeah, and then we're going to have after that, we'll have
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King Day. So, I mean, we're just into like 4-day work weeks now. This is just what this is. January, the month of 4-day work weeks, it feels like here. So trying to figure all that out, but it screwed me right up here. I mean, you get 2 days off, then you work for a couple days, then you get another day off, then you work for a couple days, then you get 2 days off. I mean, it's just been this whole holiday screwed me right up. And I did something today that I haven't done in years.
What?
I slept in. I literally slept in. I looked at the time. It was 7:50. And I was like, what happened? I'm like, why are my kids not up? Oh, yeah, they're not in school till next week. Nobody is awake in this house. 7:50. I never have to set an alarm. But Natalie's 7. She gets up at like 6 o'clock every day, but she slept in too. Everybody slept in. And here I am, 7:50. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss the show. Joel's going to fire me if I miss the show.
I didn't even call. Christian had. Well, sometimes when you don't show, I attribute it.
Don't show. Like, when did I not show? Stop. I always show.
Oh no! Sometimes you call me at 7:53 and you say I can't talk. I can't. I'm sick.
I got too much stock.
Yeah.
Have too many.
So I thought, because you were talking, you were pretty convicted about just shorting the heck out of this market. And I know you were.
That was before we had a 4-day sell-off. So I didn't short anything coming in because I'm like, I don't know what to do with this now. It's not a clean setup. We talked about we were hoping for a Friday rally, and then we did rally a little bit Friday, and it gave it all back, and we closed down near the lows. So I'm like, the setup isn't clean. And the wild card to like going in here, coming in short, is the Tesla numbers. I mean, we're going to get them shortly, and that's going to move the entire market. So you almost have to wait until you see that. But I want to see what happens here. I'm more excited potentially about the January effect on some stocks that have really been beaten up, meaning, maybe we had a little value day. Maybe we get some of these stocks actually show some life. But Tesla's going to dictate this. I mean, numbers come out here in probably the next hour, and
Is
that
it?
everything.
Do we have it? Is it really within the next hour? I can't remember.
I don't know if we have a time, but I know it's today. So Tesla numbers usually come out around 9 a.m. if they're coming out. So I don't know if we have the scheduled time or not, but coming out, and people don't know the time here either. If anybody knows the time, let us know. But it is scheduled today. Question is what time?
We got it. We see
around
8:30.
9.
We see 9. We see 1.
Okay, let's hope pre-market.
Yeah. Obviously, the stock is showed some weakness ahead of it.
For
People
sure.
are taking some chips off the table.
Yeah.
Run up to all-time high. I didn't leave my 416 line up there, but that was the number. I should have saved my layout. But now that's the bogey now going back up. 416. Can you get back? You had all those lows in that area, so hard to find support. And Dennis threw out some low numbers, and one of Dennis's ability is even if he's long a stock and even if he's not selling it out, he has a plan, and he says he wants to buy this thing back at the 350 area. So
Yeah.
when you
I'm not
originally
sure I'm
talked
gonna
about
get
it, yeah, you never know. You never know. But you want to talk about some of these dogs, like the dogs of dogs, and see if they're showing any life,
Yeah.
like Walgreens Boots Alliance.
Well, let's go to that list for Christian. So I tweeted out a list, Christian, of the worst stocks of the year. Walgreens Boots Alliance #1, down 61. It ended up, this is the final, down 61% for the year of 2024. We're talking WBA. Company's an epic disaster here. We know they've done everything basically wrong. But, thinking about, where we are in the January effect potentially, I want to just look for these stocks to see if they show any life. They were trying to show a little bit of life on Friday. It was interesting. We talked about this trade Friday morning. I'm getting Friday, because it feels like a Monday. Talked about this trade Tuesday morning, last day of the year, and gave a list. WBA, Intel, Moderna, Celanese, Enphase actually, I believe, ended up being lower than Estee Lauder because I think EL was just slightly higher. So EL went slightly up on Tuesday, and ENPH went down. So actually, ENPH moved into the top 5 just by a hair, down 48%, EL down 47.6%. But these stocks here, so just talking, were your worst performers in the S&P in 2024. What sometimes happens is you get a little bit of a reversal trade that first week or so of January as that tax loss selling, which probably puts pressure on these stocks, is now gone. So the question is, can any of these stocks show some life? These are definitely not Christian Fromhertz charts, though, but let's talk, Christian.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it, and that's what makes this so hard for me too.
It's like against all your core strategies, buying dogs and weakness.
Aren't you glad we bring you on the show? We just try and get you to get away from your core strategies, Christian.
Yeah, this is the uncomfortable
We try to
zone.
break him of this. We don't like him making this much money. You got to try to bring him down a bit.
well, as you guys mentioned, it's a trade, right? This is not a long-term thing.
No.
This is just looking for things that could outperform. What's interesting with with the list of the worst performing stocks of last year is you got a couple things that are very similar. Both CVS and Walgreens are on there. You also have Humana. So again, both of those companies have a little bit of like the healthcare element to them. Mm-hmm. They also have Dollar Tree's also on there too, and Dollar General's also on there too. So you definitely have the discount stores, drug stores that are kind of grouped together. So that's definitely a theme. And I think if you put a couple of those on the watch list and see if they go, you might have a chance to maybe look at that whole group to say, if it's going to happen, they should all kind of move, is my point.
And this is the tell. So this is exactly what I would be doing on this trade as well. It's not kind of waiting for the first one to go, but seeing if 2 or 3 start to go and then say, hey, now I see the pattern here and some of these ones that haven't gone yet. So let's just give And maybe I could take over the screen, or if you want, Joel, you could show my Twitter account too if you don't feel like doing that. But I can take over the screen here for a second here. I'm going to bring it up. Charlie Balello, who I follow on Twitter, actually just tweeted out a nice list last night. So we have a nice clean list here. I'm going to bring it up. Then I got to figure out how to show this screen because I'm not as good at this, but I'm going to present, and I'm going to present share screen.
Make sure you do the right screen.
My Twitter account.
By the way, he tweets out some great, like, for year-end stuff.
Here you go.
Yep.
Whoa,
you should be able to see that.
Dennis.
There you go, Charlie. Thank you. Nice list. So these stocks, we're not necessarily saying, I think just watch the leaders, watch Intel, watch WBA. They're up this morning, so if we just go through, everything is up though. So it's obviously not attributing this to the January effect. WBA, Intel, Moderna. So keep an eye on this. Now, because they're all up, you could say it's happening, but the market effects are here. So let's see what happens after the open, at 9:30 when people come in. Do the institutions start to look at some of these stocks or not? And again, a big thing today, whether this is going to happen today, is going to depend on Tesla. Meaning, do we go back into the growth trade, or does Tesla potentially miss, get hit? Now they get scared when other growth stocks hit them. And then you could actually see these rotation into some of these beaten down value names, because one thing in common with a lot of these names, and again, some of them at the top of the list are tough, but a lot of these are more value oriented stocks, lower PE stuff that's been out of favor for a long time too. Some of these aren't, because some of these have actually moved to a cash situation where they're not making money anymore, like Moderna. But I mean, this is the list of the worst performers last year. This is a list that sometimes shows life in early January. So we can keep an eye on these stocks today.
Dennis, I want to, you mentioned Tesla. You mentioned the Tesla deliveries here several times, but it's not a car company. So who?
So obviously the only thing they sell right now is cars. So obviously this is, and again, I don't think Tesla's a car company anymore. I think they're doing a lot of things. Right now, the data on their revenue that they're bringing in is all cars. So obviously you can say, oh, we don't care about the car. I think maybe we can make a good point out of your point that you're trying to do to mock me. But the point here is, if it really gets hammered on these numbers, it may not be like a situation. Yeah, maybe. I love the 350 level. That's 60 points down. I don't think they're going to hammer it that much. But look, we've sold off 60 points in the last 10 days. So I think if we get down to that area, I think it's a logical bounce area. I want to add to the position. That's how convicted I am long term on this name. But short term, we said this. I go back to the tape a week ago. I said if I had Tesla on for a trade, it was 465. I had it on for a trade. I said I would sell it right now. And I had actually lightened up the position just slightly because I felt like it was so overdone. The move to 350 to 470 was insane. It was 8 days. The stock tacked on, I don't know how much market cap, 300 billion in market cap or something like that. Just crazy move. That was way too much, way too fast. This Tesla was not supposed to be a trade that was going to work out, in 2 months, or it took 6, because the first 4 months it didn't go anywhere when I was pumping it or talking about it, relentlessly.
Yeah, long time.
But the last 2 months has been crazy. This has been a huge move. So I think, a digestion period, and let's see what the numbers look like. This is an important morning for Tesla.
I think too the level that I'm watching here too is right around 400. I've got 402, but let's just say 400. So while you're down at 350, which is right around the 50-day moving average, but in between that 400, if it does break 400, I'm going to be with you kind of watching. That's a nice level to watch around 350, because I think if it loses that, there's not a lot down till basically to that 350 level. So
yeah, I think so too.
I'm with you in that camp. Yeah. And we'll just kind of have to see. And by the way, as this is the first trading day of 2025, I'm not in a rush. I kind of begin these years, and I've done this differently a couple of years ago, where I was like, hey, new year, got to get involved, because I do the U.S. Investment Championship. I've been doing that for the last few years, and I'm doing that again this year. But years past, I'm like, hey, you got to get off to a really good start and get going. I want to just see things kind of settle in. Let's see that you might have that January effect where we're talking about some of the worst names. I'm okay with that the first week. I want to see how it shakes out, but I want to see if the leaders like a Tesla, like a Palantir, like a couple of the semi names too. I want to see how these things are going to respond and what the institutions, now that they're done with this nonsense of where they sell everything at the end of the month, do they buy everything right back in the beginning of the month, which by the way is a really like dumb way to invest. But these are market dynamics, so I'm just interested to see, like, let's let the dust settle a little bit after four. Did we had 4 down days, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like we started so strong, like the 24th, obviously the huge update, and you're like, oh, Santa Claus coming for sure. We just put 1% in our back pocket. It's like scoring the first 3 goals in a hockey game. But then bang, 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 and then obviously the Bears recovered, and here we are. Just adding to this point is, even if you're, not, caring about Tesla, even if you're not a trader of Tesla, if you're in any Momo names, you better be watching those Tesla numbers today, because if Tesla blasts off, it probably brings Palantir and those stocks up with it. If Tesla sells off, it probably drags down Palantir, even though Palantir has nothing to do with Tesla. They're all Momo names, and the same type of investor are in these right now. These Momo names that are at nosebleed valuations. Tesla is, I won't lie about that. So I do think that if Tesla shows weakness here, I think it hits the growth names. So I think Tesla's going to be your leader today. We always talk about, when I start my day, what's driving the bus. What is going to drive the bus today isn't this big S&P move of up, 40 handles. What's going to drive the bus today is these Tesla numbers when we get them, because a lot of things are going to change on those numbers.
I think, and this is why, I'm really glad that, we brought Christian on, because he has his obviously very good fundamental view, sentiment, technical analysis, which is much more sophisticated than mine. Dennis, total field trader, very, very basic technical, technical analysis. My feel and just basic technical analysis, but like when you guys are talking about like 400, like is potential support, like I don't see a lick there. I mean, I'd maybe cover a piece of a short there. And like Dennis, I can't think about 350, because that's like
so
it
far
could
away.
go there. It's like $60 away. So when I see a stock make a move like it's had and then take out a major support level, to me, it's like to me, I'm not looking to, if I'm buying it on strength, it's got to get back above 416. On the downside here, Tesla will give you a shot. It will go down, it will get hit, it will make a lower low. But I mean, you could look at like 3 lows in the same area, 5, 6, 7 lows in the same area, 2 lows. Here, you didn't have that formation. Here you had consolidation after it dropped. So it does it. It will give you a shot. So right now, I'm going to leave this number up here. I'm going to do this the whole year. I'm actually going to save my layout 416, and then I don't see, and if I have to go with my technical analysis, the only place I see multiple lows is the 350 area.
That's where if it starts taking out 24 points is the expected move here today. So we have 24 points.
Yeah, I just brought my screen up just so that you could see the level that I'm referring to, which is right in here. And again, this is just like this is based on the market profile and looking at volume and price. So that's why this is important to me. 350 down here too, or right around this level, is going to be the 50-day moving average too, which sometimes you see institutions really pay attention to that too. So I just wanted to give that as well. And I like to look at these 1-hour charts too to see if there's anything that I'm missing, but not really. Here's the 402 level, and there's 350. So these things are lining up with a little bit about what we're talking about so far. So yeah,
let's go to the tweet. Everybody is talking about it. I mean, this is the kind of market that we are in. We can talk about fundamentals and technicals, or we can talk just about memes, and like tweeting stuff. And you want to show it, Joel? Do you have it up, or you want me to show it? So Roaring Kitty tweets out a tweet right at 8 p.m. The timing interesting, because that was right when. So obviously he knows now when the after hours market's open.
Hell yeah!
The after hours market opens right at 8 p.m. and that's right when he tweets this tweet. You want me to go find it? Here, hang on. I gotta go find it.
Okay. Yeah, I could
talk GME here for a second, but this isn't even about GME here today. Actually, we almost have to do the Roaring Kitty. We almost have to show it to you. I should have been more ready here, but I'm not. Okay, so
Well, you
Roaring
were
Kitty.
sleeping in.
Yeah, that's what it is. I slept in. You should have called me and make sure I wasn't sleeping in. How do I make this tweet bigger? Okay, we'll just go like this. I'm going to share screen. Bear with me here, folks.
I got
Present.
it. Is it?
You have it?
Yeah, I got it here.
You're bringing it up. I have it right now too. If you don't,
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
share screen. Roaring Kitty. Share. There it is. The Roaring Kitty. So we play it. This is all he tweeted. This is it. I was like, what does that mean? Probably something good for GameStop, but apparently I don't read my memes. I'm lucky I'm not a meme trader because the memes are not saying this is about GameStop. They're saying it's about Unity software. Why?
Yes.
Explain this to me.
Because there's two things. Is there a U on his ring? I saw.
What's on his ring? I can't read that. What's on his ring?
And then the
I
other
can
thing.
pause it. Let's try to pause it.
Doesn't
There's
he,
no way to read that.
He says Unity. Does he say it? Does he turn to somebody? And that's the only thing in the video, right?
This is
I don't
it.
know.
That's it. That's all it is right there. Stop screen. I've seen enough.
Is that Unity album? I don't know. I mean,
Anyway, they're saying Rick James, this is Unity. They're saying this is about. Oh, it's the Unity album. So this is off of the Unity album. They're saying that means that Roaring Kitty has taken a position. Unity is what the market is speculating. Unity software, which I was in for a while there and had a good trade off of it, is up 15%. Again, I will say it. The most powerful person on Wall Street right now is the Roaring Kitty, because no way Warren Buffett tweets a meme of Rick James and Unity software goes up 15%. That's how crazy this market is, folks. So if you don't think we're bubblicious and stupid, yeah, we are in a lot of things. Very, very dumb, but that's what it is. I don't know. I guess I got to go to meme school and figure out this stuff because I mistakenly thought this would be about GameStop, but no, not correct. Rick James' Unity album, and apparently it's about Unity.
Okay.
Christian is just silent on this and doesn't even have anything to say.
I mean, come on.
Let's
these
talk
things,
Unity stock.
Okay, let's talk Unity stock. So first of all, whenever this guy tweets, I tend to look at the short interest of the name that he's tweeting, because if what's the potential of the squeeze, right? And the short interest is about 8% of the float. That's not as crazy as some of the other squeezes that we've seen. GameStop,
not his kind of stock.
Yeah, that short interest was much, much higher. So yeah, you could get a move, but I kind of view it as short-lived. What's interesting about this stock is it hit $28 in the beginning of December, and it's moved all the way back into the 22, 23 handle. Yeah. These are the percentage moves in some of these things are just, they're not for the faint at heart. That's a big percentage move, and I see it coming up right now to like 26.50. There's some, or 26.30. There's some resistance there. There's some resistance at 26.85. So I personally, I would be ringing the register on this stock up that much.
Taking the 16% and running.
Yeah, I mean,
when we don't even 100% know if he did anything in Unity. Like maybe the memesters are just reading it wrong. Maybe they're reading it right, but wow.
But I mean, go back to what he did too with Chewy. That was pretty short. Yeah, that was pretty short-lived as well. And again, it was more of a ring the register situation.
So, and in that situation, like just questioning, obviously, the person has power, but in some cases, loading up your stock or loading up options before, and then tweeting out a meme, which, I don't even know how you read it sometimes, and the stock pops up, and then selling after that. I mean, the whole optics of it just don't look that great.
No,
we'll just say that. People are going to hate me for saying that. I'm just saying the optics of it don't look great, but I mean, he's not like he's saying anything about the company. He's not really saying, anything. He's just tweeting a meme. So it's hard to charge him with anything though for tweeting a meme. I mean, it's like this, powerful machine that he's created here, this meme trade where I don't even think the regulators know how to handle this.
Well, what happened with him too, back in the GameStop day is at least he presented his case. Like, he had
Yeah.
a whole video, and I wasn't really paying that much attention to it back then, but now, of course, understand what happened. But he did create like a really good fundamental story. Okay, if that's the case, do that again and let's hear it, and then we can kind of make the decision about what kind of analysis have you done. Have you uncovered something that's really interesting? But am I buying something off of a Rick James meme? No, I don't think so.
Because the world we're in, everything has changed here. This new investor is like, cryptic, try to figure out, what does it mean at all. Nice. Oh, $50, Duncan Dave.
What's
Thank
going
you
on,
very
these guys?
much, buddy.
Dennis, I don't think anybody thought we were going to show up.
Nope.
No, they
Boom,
were
I
like,
can pay the bills here. We can pay Christian.
real quick, let's just do a technical on Unity if that's possible. My old trick. I like to see follow through the pre-market high. We don't know what the pre-market high is. It's 26.38 at the current time. If you're just a total believer in technical analysis, you would say, wow, there's 26.5 level. There's a pair of highs back mid-month. So we'll see if you get the pre-market levels to coincide with that. And if you just are holding out, baby, you're holding out 28.67. That was the recent high of the move. That was back on December 6th. And if you're a super uber duper bull, I mean, this thing hasn't even sniffed anything. I mean, this is nothing on the monthly chart. But right now, short-term levels, the pair highs 26.5, and then the recent high of the move at 28 and change. So there you go. I mean, he did sell out of his Chewy though. I do remember that, right? Didn't he have a big position in doing it? But I just can't. I'll go with you. I'll
It's
go
hard.
with you guys. Yep.
This is a hard trade. The meme trade I've definitely not mastered. So, okay, lots of fundamental news here today. We get a number here today. We'll get the jobs number tomorrow, correct? Like the regular number. But
now it says initial jobless claims.
Claims today
at 8:30. But I've been, sometimes they adjust the numbers. We do get ISM manufacturing PMI for December, but that's not to tomorrow at 10. This is like a no earnings week and very little economic data. They're not doing the jobs number on Friday. They are going to. Oh, that should be interesting.
Pushing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the market closed on Thursday, and then the jobs number next Friday, and then you know what starts right after that?
Earnings season.
Yeah. Exactly.
The banks usually kick it off.
Yeah.
So we got earnings season coming here too. Lots of analyst ratings though. So the analysts did somewhat wake up out of their slumber. Usually you'll see Monday and Tuesday of next week as two of the biggest analyst days of the year because these analysts are trying to get out their calls for 2025. So expect a lot of ratings Monday and Tuesday of next week. But some of them couldn't wait. Some of them woke up early, unlike me, and got their ratings out here. And there's some big ones here today. I don't know where you want to start, but there was a lot of ratings. For a day coming just day after New Year's, it's one of those days where you're actually seeing some ratings. There was a downgrade. If you want to start with Google, you've already got it on there. A downgrade of Google from JMP Securities. Google's trading up and kind of ignoring it. JMP is a smaller boutique firm, probably why. That it's being ignored to a certain extent. But Google here getting a downgrade just to neutral. Thoughts on this one? Let's throw it to Christian. Google.
Well, I'm long Google. I didn't really do
thoughts in itself.
We just have the jobs. Sorry, I just want to interrupt with the jobless claims. So let's just hit the tape.
Sure.
Those are, and then I'll give you my thoughts on Google. But what do you got here? You got 211 versus 221. So 211,000 versus 221. So a little bit less. Bonds, which have been up this morning, are coming down a little bit. And the dollar is still strong. So thoughts on Google is, the reason why I took a position, a couple of weeks ago in Google and have been trying to basically stay in it is because they really haven't had anything, in terms of a catalyst or something to be excited about. The quantum chip that they're supposed to come out with. I mean, we've seen all these quantum stocks obviously go nuts. The
Yeah.
quantum, I went through, I usually do a little bit of my, my homework towards the end of the year. What were the best sectors and groups? And there is a quantum ETF. It's QTUM, and believe it or not, like that was the best performer that I had, in terms of sectors. That had a huge gain. So I'm trying to stick with Google. Again, I have these ideas, and I always have the technicals as my telling me whether I'm right or wrong.
Mhm.
So I'm basically watching the like the 20-day moving average. Like if that, I went through like all my positions, right. Actually yesterday as I got back, and just said, hey, just kind of refreshed my stop prices. So that's something that I'm watching. You could see from your chart, like the top right chart that you've got there, Joel, it's in digestion. I don't want to see it start to slip down out of that digestion and start to kind of fill in there. If that does happen, I'm out of my trade, and then I'll watch to see where it sets up again. But I think that this quantum, and that's another one of my questions as we start the year. Like a name like RGTI is also on the list this morning in terms of one of the best pre-market movers. But that's straight your quantum stocks, and that had a pretty ugly looking candle on Friday, but
Friday.
not Friday.
Sorry,
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, this is the
Gonna
problem with
all
these.
day.
Yeah, this is the problem with these holidays in the middle of the week. But it had a bearish engulfing candle. I don't like that, but some of these names can kind of work themselves out of that. But that's one of my questions for January, is whether the quantum theme will be hot. And for now, I'm trying to trade that via Google.
The question about
The
all these quantum stocks, and me and Joel talked about them on Tuesday, and we just noted that, RGTI, and you can go through all of QBTS, can go into, keep IONQ out of it. It's a little bit different animal, maybe bigger company, but QBTS, and then the other one was QUBT. All of these stocks in November, Christian, all three of those stocks were $1.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now they're QUBT 16, QBTS 8, and RGTI 15, 16 this morning. I mean, you're talking about stocks that are up, most of them over 1,000% in 6 weeks. Is the continuation party just here, or is this like this little excited quantum bubble that could just burst at any time? I mean, I always, I'm scared to chase stocks. Chasing stocks up 1,000% in 6 weeks sounds very scary to me.
Yep. So here's my thought on this. So first of all, like this is what makes to me the market exciting. When you've got groups of stocks that are trading, just as you mentioned, low dollar range, and have had these types of moves. Some people have probably made a good deal of money with these things. We covered them a few times in December, talking about how to trade them, and they had a couple of them had like 30% days, and I thought that they were good day trade candidates. I think what you're going to see with these 4 or 5 stocks, and you got another one in there too. I see while I was gone, I see people talking about HOLO, which is I believe has another quantum theme too. So I've got that one on my radar now too. But I think what you're
Wow.
going to see is
Another dollar stock.
another dollar stock, right? With momentum. I think what you're going to see eventually, I can't tell you when, is that you're going to see a couple of them fall by the wayside, and probably 1 or 2 might emerge as, hey, these have really got something going on. I think Citron, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think Citron was like, hey, this is ridiculous. I think it was QBTS. And he said, like, there's no way this company should be getting any of this attention. They don't really make any money, yada, 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 with, a name that doesn't make any money, and him talking, Citron talking about the stock shouldn't be trading here. So I would be watching to see which ones kind of can come out of this and stay firm, which ones give it all back, give a good portion of it back. That's what I'm trying to watch. And from a trading aspect, I would be looking for the strongest, of the bunch to see if like, hey, we got a really good theme. And for now, I'm just long Google because I
Watch 190 in the Google.
Yeah.
It's not, when I see a downgrade, I see something, I'm like, but where's it trading in relation to Friday's action? You got a pair of
Tuesday's
lows at
action.
190. Yep. 190. So right now market effect is helping it be up. But all right.
I think
Eight.
there's something to keep in mind here too. With Google and with all these names is again the Tesla delivery numbers. I'm going to keep coming back to it because it's going to move the overall market. It's going to move growth.
Okay.
It's going to move tech. But Google's held up very well. It's one of the cheaper of the Mag 7. So you got a little bit of valuation support here too, Christian. We're 8:36. We're going to bring our guest, but
Yep, that's what I tried to do.
let's do it.
Okay. All right. We're going to bring on right now, just bring him right to the stage. Jim Tassoni, the founder of Armor Wealth Strategies here. Jim, did you get a good night's sleep?
Well, for those of you who have kids, you probably are familiar with sleepover nights. And I had 4 8-year-old girls here last night.
Oh my gosh.
So I will tell you there was a lot of high-pitched screaming. My ears are still ringing a little bit. And I'm also moving a little slow this morning. So take it easy on me, chat. Please take it easy on me. But Happy New Year to you guys. Glad to
You know what I used to do when I had sleepovers with my buddies and my friends and stuff? Did you ever order pizzas for the people across the street?
They were
No.
bad, Joel.
It's the greatest thing, man.
It was bad. He was a bad kid.
You can do it, man. You can call up, and they just fell for it. So much for caller ID.
Identical and all that kind of changed all that.
My daughter was talking about playing pranks on me and my wife while we were sleeping. So I wanted to lock the door to our bedroom, and my wife said, "But what if they need something?" So I was nervous all night about the pranks that we're going to be playing.
What if you stick someone's hand in cold water while they're sleeping? You ever hear about that trick?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Jim. What about the markets? 2025. We're getting off to a pretty good start here in the January effect and the non-January effect and the losers from last year and the winners and stuff. What's your feel? What's your feel at the end of 24 and heading into 25?
It's funny. The more things change, the more things stay the same, it seems, as we head into the start of this year. And I think, Christian brought up a great point about not trying to be a hero on the first day of the year or looking to do too much or make too many changes. I mean, I'm coming in with a very similar portfolio to where I ended last year, still, favoring the large caps, still favoring kind of more growthy type names when I look at my portfolio. As Christian and Dennis alluded to, I'm still wrapping up my final numbers. Luckily, we were able to outperform a really strong market again last year. So, and that was on the backs of a lot of these growth type stocks. And so we continue to hold them. We realize some are getting stretched, but we still think there's a fundamental case to continuing to look at what worked last year, continuing to work into 2025.
Okay, that's it.
What about the bond market here? I mean, it continues. TLT continues to show weakness. You had a fantastic short on this thing, but I mean, the bonds were basically the only asset class that had a really tough 2024 down. I mean, all other sectors, did pretty well. I mean, some obviously a lot better than others, but I mean, this is 2 years in a row where bonds have not done well at all. Is there a turnaround story in 2025 here for bonds, or is it just like this normalization of rates just continues?
I am not a uber bull on the bond market or really any interest rate sensitive sectors at this point anyway. Opinions can always change. That's what makes us traders. But as we sit here today, I do not see a real impetus for substantially lower rates anytime in the near future, which would obviously be beneficial to a lot of the interest rate sensitive stocks like the real estate sector and so on and so forth, and the bond market. I think we're seeing more of a normalization. I think, we've got some policies on the horizon. We don't know what's going to get through and what's not, but the majority of them, if not all of them, at least in my opinion, look pretty inflationary, which at least should put a hold on where rates are, if not even see them creep a little bit higher. So it would not surprise me to see the 10-year hover in this 5%-ish range for the year. We may see the front end come down a little bit, the yield steepen, or the yield curve is steepen a little bit, but I'm not calling for longer term rates to come substantially lower anytime soon.
What about them going up?
Yeah, similar thing. I don't see, you've got some of the guys out there on different networks calling for 7, 8, 9, 10. I've seen some ridiculous calls on some of these yields. I don't really see that either. I think we're sort of hitting this homeostasis in the bond market. I think it could be maybe, and these are a trader's famous last words, but it might be a little boring in that market here in the near term. I see us hovering right in this 4.5% to 5% range, kind of bouncing back and forth on the 10-year, which is kind of going to hold all intermediate and longer term bond markets in place. That's my short-term observation.
Going into January, a lot of people were trying to hold off, right? Why, don't sell, wait until the new year, hold on to the, those gains or whatever money you bring in for, until next April, right? That's a big difference between selling on December 31st. Is that an overhang on the market here? You think on really to get the market going? You think that strategy is a wider, or is that just another Wall Street fallacy?
I mean, there could be some truth to that, but as far as how I manage money and how I look at things, I've never been successful, and we've talked about this before. I've never been successful trying to time a top or get out on a top. Obviously, things can get extended. You might want to take some off, take some profits. If you had a great last year and there's some reason for you to want to sell a stock, whether it be fundamental or technical, then I think it makes sense for an individual. But as a market as a whole, I've made so many mistakes, and I'm sure you guys can all nod your head and think about this too, where I've tried to get too cute with stocks that are fundamentally strong and technically strong. And I look at it like, why would I want to sell a great stock that's in a great position, that's strong both fundamentally and technically? I'm going to hold it until the market tells me to exit. And usually, and I won't say usually, I'll say always, that's not at the top. I never top tick those. I'm looking for some kind of weakness, whether it be momentum or something fundamentally deteriorating in a name before I'm going to look to head to the exit.
Let's talk small caps. Oh, sorry, Christian. I'll let you go in a second.
Go ahead.
I want to get his thoughts on small caps because not everybody, but there's a lot of people who believe that the small caps have a catch-up trade coming. Tom Lee, obviously one of the biggest one. He's on CNBC relentlessly and saying this isn't just a buy the dip moment. This is a back truck up moment is what he said on small caps here. So he's very, very bullish small caps. I've been arguing, with this move with AI that a lot of companies, AI is not going to be good for every company. And there may be a lot of companies that are in the small caps in the Russell 2000 that may not benefit from AI. And if we continue to see, the big mega cap tech stocks grow, that comes at the expense of some other companies. And that might just be the small caps here. I want to get your thoughts because you've been bearish the small caps. Any turnaround story you're thinking, Jim, in IWM?
Yeah, IWM specifically, I would say I'm definitely on the other side of the trade from a Tom Lee. I've been neutral, at times short. I missed out on some of these quick bounce backs, but I have not liked that index for a number of reasons. One, we've talked about the profitability factor and how more than half the companies in that index aren't profitable. I just don't like the construction of the index. Two, I think, and we kind of touched on this before, the interest rate story. I think a lot of the thesis behind the bull case for small caps was interest rates coming down, debt servicing costs coming down for these companies, because a lot of these companies are more heavily reliant on the financing markets. You know, a Google or an Nvidia or a Meta, they go out to the market. There's going to be appetite. They get the best rates. They're less interest rate sensitive when it comes to, even if they have a need for debt financing, where these smaller companies are more subject to that. And then 3, I just haven't seen the technical case for them either. I think when you look across the board on a relative standpoint, the overall technicals are a lot weaker in the small cap space than they've been in SPY or Qs over the last year or two.
Sure.
So if I was going to invest in small caps, I would definitely do it on a case-by-case basis, and I'd probably want to subscribe to something like Following Christian or somebody who seems to have a better hold on some of these smaller names, somebody who understands the nuances of the individual stocks, whether it be from a technical or a fundamental standpoint, because the idea of just backing up the truck into this index is not something I would be prepared to do.
Hey, Jim, well, so what a great point you're making about, you know, the way that the index, how it works and so forth. And it's a great point, because the names that do really well, the best names, they get plucked and they get moved to the mid caps and they get moved to the large caps. So what really kind of and can move IWM is with a catalyst, which you've talked a little bit about too, and when there's less headwinds. So I agree with you too, and meaning like macro headwinds. So the dollar bonds, which we've talked about too, which influence the small caps more so than the Nvidia, the Apple, who have the balance sheets are wonderful in these names. Are there any other, and I like your approach, you know, similar approach as you mentioned, that we're kind of waiting a little bit as the year opens to see, you know, there's no rush, right? We've got a whole year, but is there anything, now that we've kind of had this little bit of year-end washout, are there any sectors that you're kind of saying, hey, this might be a little bit more interesting as maybe just a trade, as we kind of talked a little bit about the dogs of the Dow and the January effect? Anything that you're kind of poking around a little bit different than the leaders?
Yeah, I think, you know, from a sector standpoint, there's no one in particular sector that I'm all in on from a sector standpoint. There are individual names in different sectors that I like. There is one consumer discretionary name that I liked pretty much all of last year, and I rode the roller coaster around. I probably didn't trade it as well as I could have, but it's coming back into an area where I think if you're interested, you've got a good setup here, and that's Abercrombie and Fitch. And that's one name that I think from a technical standpoint, I think right here around kind of this 146, 147 level, if we see it hold that, I like getting long there. I think, you know, we had a stock that blasted off. It was a great trade for the majority of the year. We saw some backfilling. I think this is a level that if it holds, we could see some more upside. Another name that I like on the long side, that's kind of been this is a stock that I've owned on and off for the last decade, and I've never really made money on it, but I'm kind of like that cat who doesn't learn and keeps going back to the hot stove, and that's Gilead in the healthcare and biotech space. I really like that name and kind of this right in that 88 level. This is one that just, I've thought for years, from both a fundamental and at different points a technical standpoint, that I've never understood why this stock can't get out of its own way. I think there's been some management missteps, but I think from a purely technical standpoint, if we're looking at a trade here, I like the sort of the 88 level to potentially look at a long. And then I'll give you two quick short ideas. If you want to do a pairs trade, if you want to kind of look at something to hedge those positions, if you're like, Jim, I don't like these positions anywhere near as much as you do. One short I like in the consumer discretionary space right now is Crocs, CROX. I I think this is one where I think, again, it's definitely a fad stock. Maybe it's my, Gen X mentality, but I don't know how many more people can continue to buy these and wear them with socks and walk around and think it looks good. But that's a generational thing. And then on the biotech side, one name that I think could be setting up for some disappointment is Biogen, BIIB. That's one that I would be looking at. If we pop back up into the low 170s and started to lose momentum there, I think that's a name that we could see on that I wouldn't mind playing on the short side.
Jim, we had you on a couple weeks ago, and I asked you about what are you avoiding, and you went to these stocks, ended up on being on the list. You mentioned these health providers, Humana.
Yeah.
And also UNH. I mean, you still hands off on these, or wow, that UNH move, boom. Give us with the current administration, boom, everything coming in. Has your opinion changed at all?
No, I stay fast on those. I mean, especially from a trading standpoint, until these stocks give me a reason from a technical standpoint. I mean, fundamentally, I think there's a lot of headwinds. You could take a shot at them technically, but I don't see anything in the technical setups that I look at anyway that would warrant a long at this point for me. So I'm still hands off.
Okay, one more, and I talked to Jim Figurlini. He says, "Hey, the interview is going great," and then you threw me a curveball. All right, you ready for the curveball?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. So over the last 3 years, the S&P has had about a 1,000-point range. Okay.
Yep.
What will that range be in 2025?
Oh, geez. Should I just take whatever we're at right now and add 8% to it? Isn't that how you do it when you're on Wall Street? And then you
A lot of times.
you take your $5 million salary and you go home. I think this year, and this has nothing to do with how I trade or how I'm going to invest this year, but I could see this year being a year of consolidation. Mm-hmm. I think we have had the last 2 years have been phenomenal years for equity investors, especially if you've, bought the large cap indexes and gone away and you've owned the Mag 7. I mean, you've made a ton of money. I don't know. I think there's enough animal spirits and enough hope for policies with the Trump administration coming in that I don't see a huge sell-off, but I also don't see another 20% rally in this market. So I think the range could be much more muted, somewhere in the neighborhood of mid to high single-digit returns on the markets, and maybe some volatility inside of that range. But I don't see a 20% gain. I don't see a 10 or 20% sell-off this year. I think similar with the bond market, I see similar things in the stock market. I think it's going to be a year of consolidation. I think that's good for people, Joel, like you and Dennis and Christian, who know how to pick their spots and trade within these ranges. Mm-hmm. But I don't see us having, I think we're going to get some vacillation throughout the year, but I think we're going to end up a lot closer to where we started than.
I think so too. I think it's going to be a tough one. I mean, I think you got,
some headwinds.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, you could go right now. We're trading, we're up 40 handles, whatever, splitting hairs, 59.50, let's say. You could go, 64.50 on the S&P. Oh boy. I really don't see that. And then on the downside, do I see 54.50? I really, I think it could be, like a grinder, like 5,600, 6,100 or 6,200, but it just feels tight and good, Jim. All right, well, man, thank you. Thanks for joining us here on Pre-Market Prep. He'll be our Thursday's guest. Well, Jim, You have next Thursday off with double pay.
Oh wow, look at that. Double
We
pay.
pay so well.
I was gonna say I can do I can even
Zero revenue.
I figured out that math because I've heard that anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So I can
You're a mathematician. That's Jim Tassoni. He's the founder, Arborwell Strategies, joining us here on Pre-Market Prep. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Jim.
All right. Uber. What's going on with Uber?
GS. So I guess GS was added to the conviction list here, or GS. Uber was added to GS conviction list. Uber's getting a pretty good pop here this morning. It wouldn't be one of my picks for 2025, you know that. But I mean, right now, keep an eye on Uber because Tesla moves and Uber is the anti-Tesla trade. So if Tesla sells off, Uber could build on this a little bit more. I'm nervous with these Tesla numbers coming up. I think you could see a sell-off.
I can tell.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they beat and they just rip them higher, but I'm somewhat nervous about these Tesla numbers.
I just wanted to bring up one thing as you guys, as we were speaking with Jim and Joel mentioned it too. And Dennis, I know that this is kind of has been your bread and butter from time to time. And I wanted to specifically ask, do you think this is more the buy the dip and sell, going back to sell the rip? Do you think that that's the market that we're going to see as this year kind of develops, and is that the strategy like that you're going to start with this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be more of a trading year where take the gains and the market takes them from you. I don't think this is going to be one of those where we just, are ripping and the 25%. I'm with Jim. I think the markets could end up higher because the markets do. It's hard to bet against the overall market in a 12-month period. Sometimes they do go down, but more often it goes up. But I do think this is going to be, big moves, stories, stocks, the memesters grab a stock or, the social media grabs a stock or CNBC grabs a stock. And you're going to see moves and they're going to be violent moves in both directions. But I do think it's going to be one of those markets where you're going to be happy if you take the money and run. So we'll call it the year of Steve Miller Band. Take the money and run.
Okay.
And to that point, I've been trying to come up the last couple of days. I've been thinking about my acronym for 2025. I had NASA next year with mixed results. I had NVIDIA, which was excellent. I had AMD, which started the year excellent, but ended up poorly. I had SMCI, which started the year on fire, but ended up poorly. And then Amgen was slightly down. So I didn't do great. At the end, I was looking really good in March or April because a lot of my stocks on acronym were up over more than 100%. But it hasn't been the case this year. So I'm trying to come up with an acronym, but I'm like, I just don't feel like we're in this year where we're going to have everything rip roaring and rallying here. So I'm like, I will come up with something in the next few days, and it'd be good if you guys can do it as well. Come up with 3 or 4 letters of stocks at your picks for 2025. I've given AMD. I thought, that could be one of my picks here. It's right where I bought it, 122. I bought some more again. Obviously, I bought some down at 90, and I bought some more at 145. So I'm kind of all over the place, and they're probably averaged in around this price. I do think AMD could have a turnaround year here. But I mean, that's a hard story too. Stocks in a downtrend, not, the story. You're taking a shot if you're just going on this. You're definitely not going with momentum. But I'm just having trouble coming up with a good acronym for the simple reason is that I think 2025 could be a tougher year for stocks.
I like that, and I'll be ready come Monday with some type of acronym, whether it's catchy or not. But I like, regardless of coming up with something like that, I like the fact of hey, 3 or 4 stocks. I'm going to be watching these, and let's see how this kind of year progresses. But it's nice to have those ideas where you're like, okay, this could be the let's see if these couple of stocks with themes or what stories, however you want to go with, it's important to kind of have some of those things ready to go and say, okay, this is where I'm going to be at least looking to see if these stocks can kind of carry momentum, carry a trend, and go from there. So Monday, I will be ready for that with you.
Real quick on technicals, Uber, man, people are backing up that truck at 60. Look at that level. So that's, boom. If you want a level to lean on, maybe even give it a little bit more than that. That's great support. Got a pop near 62. Boom, boom, boom. And 62 is a good level. keep an eye on that because you had not one, not two, you had three highs at that area. So keep an eye. Excellent support 60, breakout of 62. We can go and just guys, with your acronyms, it doesn't have to be bullish. You could come
Te-
up with
Right.
you could come
Tesla is
up.
leaking here right now. I don't know if we have the Tesla numbers. We are down 5 and we're popping back up from it. Must have come out. I don't see them yet. Waiting on those Tesla delivery numbers here, but they are out. We were nervous about it. It's not too bad yet, though. Stock's holding up fairly well. Waiting on those Tesla numbers. I don't see them
Definitely
crossing up.
moving.
Apparently, the algos have them because we're
The
down
algos
now.
have them. Oh, let me get
Yeah.
my chart up here.
All
Boom,
right,
boom.
I got the numbers if you want to
Yeah.
throw them out. I don't have the summary yet. You should
Give the numbers.
All right, 1 second here. Let me just get situated. Okay, now we're starting to see him. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Just
Just grab
fumbling around
Christian,
here.
grab that
they're
number.
not good.
Fourth quarter deliveries 495 versus estimated
light.
512. So that's light. That's your big number. Year production 467 versus 481. Q4 other models production 22 versus 27. So yeah, I'm going to throw these in the chat for you guys. There's that in the live chat. Deliveries 495 versus 512. So there you go.
That's light. These numbers are not great. We were nervous about this. We're now down about 18 points from where we were just trading a few minutes ago when we said we were nervous about the numbers. 350 is my level. Like I'm thinking, I don't think it's going there today. I don't think you're going to lose 60 points on this, but the momentum has broken here. There isn't a lot of support in here. And I feel like the calendar turn's not going to help us here either because people sitting on some profits can easily take them now and pay the tax bill a year from now. So there's a lot of reasons here. Like I was saying, if I had Tesla on for a trade, I said it like 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, said when it was 460, I said if I had it on for a trade, I would sell it right now. And I did lighten up a little bit of my long-term position, but obviously intending, on holding. I'm still holding 90% of the long-term position. It's in it for long-term. These numbers aren't good. They're not good.
Well, and it will come into play too of like, okay, these numbers are light. Is this going to be a car company or, how important are these numbers? And you could see right now they're kind of important because they're
the only revenue right now is cars.
Yeah, right. So.
Yeah, right now it's definitely a car company. This is light. Those numbers are not great, and it's going to fuel the bear thesis that his politics, that his commentary, and his alignment, obviously with Trump, probably turned off a lot of Democratic buyers. And I mean, we've been worried about, we've been saying, the hole in the thesis is that half the country gets pissed off and says, I'm not touching, Tesla now because of his alliance with Trump. And obviously almost half the country did not vote for Trump. So this is going to fuel the bears thesis here for that, his political views are costing him sales. And
I saw over the weekend. Oh man, over the weekend, whatever. Over the last couple of days, I saw some that he was out at Mar-a-Lago and with Trump, and like Trump just didn't look very happy with them at all. That they're clashing over immigration policy. Well, no, I'm just saying. I mean, that he's already sick of them, so that could it could be a factor too. So here we go. I mean, Dennis said 350. I mean, I'm looking here, and I don't
see any reason to buy it ahead of that.
Yeah, I don't. If you wanted one daily, I don't even know if we're going to get to 378 today. That's your next daily low, 378.01, and then if they can flush it through there, your next daily low comes in at 370.80. But it's already down quite a bit. I'm not buying the dip, but I don't think you're going to see your 350 today. So got some room. We got a little bit of weakness. So took the S&Ps with it, Dennis. Even though you slept in late, you were spot on again with the market, being nervous about the Tesla numbers. Yes. So you are picking up right where you left off. You're not going to have
Tesla lose 25 points from where it was trading just a few minutes ago and have the S&P, obviously, 20 points now, just pop 5. And have the S&P and the Qs not take notice. So it's just this year is going to be the year of take the money and run, I think. You're going to get big pops in stocks, and I think it's going to be one of those years where you're going to be happier if you take the money. Don't be sitting around thinking your 10, 20% winner is going to become a 50 or 100% winner. Because I think in a lot of cases, your 10, 20% winners are going to go back down to even. You're like, why didn't I take the 10 or 20%? So just like you were saying with Unity, Christian, and again, we're off. We're down a buck from there. They're already starting to take the profits on this thing. And you thought it was more of a selling opportunity here too. I think we hit up over, where did we get on Unity? Up over 26.
Yeah, I was looking at that 26. I was looking at that 26.5 area. It got to 26.47. So, all right, guys. Great.
There's
great
lots
way.
to think about here. I know you're trying to end it early. I just want to make
sure.
or late.
You want to stay on? Go ahead.
For a minute or two here, because there's so much to digest. So, okay, if the growth, and we're starting to see Tesla, Apple just went red. Obviously Meta, Google still holding up fairly well. Amazon's up significantly here. But if the growth trade continues to come off, think about those beaten down value names once again. That list that I gave you earlier, because I don't think this will be a day that they sell everything. I think this will be a day of rotation. So maybe they come in and buy the Tesla dip. To Christian's point, is if we're seeing this not as a car company and we're selling it off 5-6% on car sales, maybe the bulls just come in and say, look, things are changing here. We're going to have revenues from a whole bunch of other stuff here. This is another opportunity to get long. And I think it is, but I think I'm more down at 350, not at 390, which I've been saying for a couple weeks here now. But think about that list. The beaten down names of 2024 that we gave you earlier in the show, the Walgreens Boots and the Intels and the Modernas, the stocks that have been absolutely hated. If the growth trade slows down today and we start to see this thesis play out of like selling the winners, maybe some of those names give you life for a day or two. Don't get married to these positions. Definitely don't, come in and say, yeah, I'm going to invest in Walgreens Boots. And this is obviously my opinion, but, I don't think this is anything more than a trade. But I do love the January trade on laggards to leaders and leaders to laggards. Keep that in mind.
Christian, do you want to talk? You brought your sector thing up. Or you had that earlier? Did you want to talk about? I know you like to look at things from a sector perspective. Would you like your sector momentum screen, or do you not want to?
Well, I think the main thing just to kind of talk about with that is just that there's a lot that's kind of lost that upside momentum. And, I do look at the short-term moving averages for that. You've got a lot of them kind of slip below. So it's kind of just wide open. I think that's the main point that illustrating like what we saw towards the last week is, hey, we've got like an open playing field. Let's see which areas want to kind of, come to the top and start to kind of regain, or we may not have that for a bit. But the point being is anything at this point can shine. Let's see what wants to shine in the beginning of this year. And then I will be looking for opportunities there. I'm also just, I've been looking at energy a little bit over the last, couple weeks.
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
We had a nice move in nat gas futures a couple days ago, some of which nat gas is really tough to kind of a lot of times with what happens with nat gas futures is they jump 15% and then the next day they give like 10% of it back, which I think we kind of saw a little bit, but I'm still kind of looking at that group a little bit to see it's been beaten up. Let's see if something wants to kind of, like I'm looking at like an EQT, which, had a decent move towards the end of last week. It was actually one of the few stocks that, caught some momentum to the upside. Another nat gas name is AR. Had an inside, again, I keep wanting to say Friday, had a nice move on Monday and then inside day on Tuesday. So those are a couple of things that I'm watching just as, they're on the screen, and let's see if they can carry.
Okay, we're gonna bring in good old Tony Pollock from Real Life Trading on tomorrow, and I'm gonna get the day right. It's Friday. Tomorrow is Friday. Then we're into the weekend. People didn't mention. I didn't mention Michigan. Big. Where's Miami? Big upset over Alabama. That made me happy. But the Buckeyes came alive. So we got some college football to watch. We'll be ready. We'll do our homework. We'll be back tomorrow with another exciting show, Pre-Market Prep. Thanks for joining us.